Welcome to sunny Florida. Today I'm sitting down with the amazing team at Control Point Associates, formerly McLaughlin Engineering, a name that's been part of the community for generations. We're talking history, legacy, and how this team is building the future of surveying here in the Sunshine State. Let's dive in and get to know the people who make it all happen. Can you briefly introduce yourself and let me know what your roles are here at CPA?
I'm Jim McLaughlin. I'm the project surveyor, and I help out wherever I can.
Jerry McLaughlin, branch manager and principal.
Jessica Haddix, business development manager.
Bert Espinosa, project manager.
So, starting with Jim, how did you get started in the surveying industry, and was it something you always saw yourself doing?
Yeah, it was always something I started when I was born. My grandfather and then my father were all surveyors, and when I was young, I didn't think I had a choice. I thought that's all that McLaughlin's did. Been doing it ever since.
And what about you, Jerry? I know with both of you starting, did you start around the same time, or was it something that Big Brother stepped in first and then you kind of followed into? How did you play into that with the whole family dynamic?
Same issue. We knew from the start that's what we wanted to do, if we wanted to or not. We started at a young age. A lot of people got candy canes and other things. We got plumb bobs. That's an old survey tool. That's what we got. It ran in our blood in the family. So, yeah, I knew pretty much that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. And what about you, Jess? I know that you've also been in this from ever since you can remember. How do you feel your experience is similar and also different to what your dad and Jerry could have had?
So I think being that it was on my dad's side of the family, when I was young, like around like 8, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer at like SeaWorld. And then the summers, like 13, 14, I started taking the bus to the office and working in the file room and just filing old surveys, and then that was just like, I just felt like that's where I was supposed to be and never left.
You still want to be a dolphin trainer?
Yeah, one day.
And she grew up and decided she wanted things like a car and
yeah,
other things that,
you have to have a paycheck for that, so. But yeah, it was fun.
How about you, Bert? From when you started and where you are at now, is it something that you pictured how it would result to?
Not when I started. I started when I was 20, and like I said, for me, it was I started in the field in a construction crew, and I had no idea. I thought I was just going to be one of those guys holding the rod. Little did I know that nope, that wasn't my job description. Was actually to go pound rebar in the ground. So because I was young, so they wanted to utilize me for that primarily, and little by little, kind of worked my way up, and envisioned myself owning a company eventually, and I achieved that. And then, I now have an opportunity to work for Control Point and work with McLaughlin, which is like a well-known name here in Florida, in South Florida. And, so, yeah, I mean, I kind of it wasn't in my cards to begin with, but I'm not regretting where I'm at.
For those who joined more recently, Bert, what drew you to this team?
I think what drew me to the culture. When I initially was looking for work, I kind of was doing a little bit of research about Control Point and kind of see, what they're about, and I like the resources and I like the mindset that they had, and how a company like Control Point can come to South Florida and expand and kind of become the premier survey company. So that's kind of what attracted me, just mostly the culture and what I saw, the potential and the resources that they had available, in the opportunity that was there. That's kind of what drew me in. And, so that's primarily, and the fact that they acquired McLaughlin Engineering was huge for me, because I knew that the reputation that McLaughlin Engineering has in our industry in South Florida, I mean, what a better opportunity for me to learn from Jerry and from Jim and Jess. So that was initially right away. It's like, this is like perfect. So, right?
Yeah, this family is very unique in the sense that it's so established and it's a legacy within its own, but ever since becoming part of Control Point, you guys are also part of something growing now. How does that feel? Especially for you, Bert, I know you've worked with other surveying companies before, so how does that feel for you, being with this incredible team that is a legacy, but at the same time has also had a new beginning where you're now skyrocketing even more?
Yeah. Well, like I said, for me, it's felt pretty comfortable, because I was used to kind of working with the type of individual with the work ethic that both Jerry and Jim have. So for me, it's very natural and the expectations are the same. We share a lot of the same values and a lot of the same cores of what we're expecting and how we want to treat our clients. So for me, it was very natural. I felt very comfortable and very accepted when I got here. And I look forward to our future together and to see what we can do and accomplish in South Florida.
Jerry, you've led this team through decades of change. What are you most proud of from then to now?
I'm proud of the legacy that we have in the community, like you said, but also the quality of our work. And people know our work. We're respected by not only other surveyors, but by our clients, by engineers. They come back to us, municipalities. I think more than anything, character. You know, we've always been on the up and up, and that's why CPA was a good fit, that we could continue to do quality work with additional resources we didn't have as a small company. We did it, but it was very difficult sometimes, but now we have the ability to branch out. And it's been difficult for us to let everybody know we're not McLaughlin, we're CPA. We're still McLaughlin, but we're CPA. We have more to offer. We're a bigger company, you know, a lot more employees. But it's been difficult. But people's mindset is you're still McLaughlin. No, it's 2 years. We're CPA. We're all CPA. We've taken the oath.
Yeah.
So that was difficult.
But within that, it's like people hear CPA and it's still hard for them to also realize that CPA is McLaughlin. Yeah. Like I've noticed that like networking events, they're like, well, what is CPA? And then when I mention McLaughlin, they're like, oh, and then it all like full circle, which helps because we already have a relationship, so bring them over.
Great. Jim, you've been hands-on with this company for a really long time. What keeps you passionate about the work you do?
I would say working with my family. What other job could you have where I've worked with my grandfather, my father, my uncles, my brother, sister, and now my kids? You can't beat that.
Yeah. I think the only thing you could do is probably join the circus. Start your own.
Good point.
This is more stable.
But that has its
Oh, it's been a circus at times.
Yeah. Also, because you're not working with employees, you're working with families, so that can
Yeah.
be difficult.
Yeah.
We've often found a way to stay friends and work together and work through it, so that's important.
Yeah, and it's definitely, worked all these years, so.
Yes.
Jessica, you've seen this industry from every angle. How does that apply to your approach with clients today?
I think just growing up and seeing all the relationships that my dad and uncle, my grandfather have created like throughout South Florida really, and just watching our company be so involved with building, especially Fort Lauderdale and out west. I think, so it's shaped my approach as far as like I can understand the importance of good quality work, communication, and just of the steady, fast-paced growth that's happening around us, and just give them the reassurance that we know the ins and outs of the surveying industry and we can help them exceed expectations on their projects.
And Jess is really the first one with the marketing background. I mean, she had survey in her blood, she knew how to sell us, but this is really the first time of any of us that really has a marketing background and knows how to get us out there. Although we're out there, now we're CPA, so Jess has come a long way.
No, I definitely agree, and I think especially as the business development representative for Florida, I mean, it's not something that's common that these people you're speaking to out there have an actual knowledge of what you're selling. I mean, you can have a full-blown conversation with top dogs in the industry down here in Florida and you don't stay behind at all. How does that feel?
I think being the office manager for majority of my life made it easier because like I actually understand what I'm talking about. I actually did a bench run once before in the field, like so I have like the understanding of what we're actually doing and what I'm selling in a sense.
Bert, you joined a very experienced office. What has been the most valuable thing you've learned from working with this group so far?
Dedication and the passion that they still have. Like I said, I know Jim is very passionate of the work he does, so is Jerry. And for me, just understanding that even though our profession has changed throughout the years, that passion is still there with them. And the dedication and the respect that they have for for their craft. It's to me, it's kind of inspiring because he tells me that still hard work, dedication still pays off. So it's, for me, I admire them both. I have tremendous respect for them. Now, like I said, as we see the evolution of surveying, I kind of see how beneficial it is to still have the background and understanding the fundamentals of what surveying is all about. It's not just being out there in the field sweating. It's understanding the implications, the ramifications of what you're doing in the office can have 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So it's important to learn that they still have those core values, and and it's important for the new generation to understand that even though technology is changing, they still need to understand what the field and what surveying is all about.
So are you saying it's a couple of old guys? I think that's what you're saying.
That's what I was saying.
A couple of old guys who know what the hell they're talking about, and I think that's it.
Oh, Jim and Jerry. Old, wise, but old. What was the transition like from McLaughlin to Control Point Associates, and how do you feel about it both professionally and
Professionally,
personally?
it wasn't all that tough. Personally, it was giving up what our family had for a long time. And it took me a while to come around. I do appreciate what CPA does. And as Jerry said earlier, the resources that we have now that we never had before. But professionally, I'm still a surveyor, and CPA has treated me like one. So I didn't have a problem with that part.
Yeah, I can imagine it was a very bittersweet moment.
It was, but my dad was a surveyor, and he ran the business before me and Jim, and I talked to him, and he basically agreed that it's tough to run a small business in the profession now with the cost of all the equipment, technology, your backup insurance, everything else. CPA brought that to the table. It was difficult to me because there was a lot to learn in a short period of time, from being a manager of our own business to being a manager within CPA. There was a lot to learn, a lot of different computer programs, the way that things were done. The surveying's the same. You're a surveyor, you know how to survey. It was just all the different angles we were pulled to learn in a short period of time and still be profitable. That was difficult, but we're getting to a comfort level now. We've got a really good staff. We've got the people that we need in place. So it was difficult, but doable, and I think we've done it.
Being the fourth generation of a family business, for me, it was really exciting as far as like starting a new chapter and having CPA be such a larger firm and have so much growth and opportunities. And then obviously the sad part of it being our family legacy and then having to say goodbye to the family business name. But I love that CPA has embraced our legacy and are letting us use that as part of our brand and like continuing our family, like just talking about our family and using that as part of like building South Florida office.
What changes have you seen in the way the office operates and the projects you take on?
Well, the office operates, I think, more smoothly. Everybody has a certain job. When you're a small family business, everybody's job is everybody's job. Once you've done it once, it's your job added to your rapport. But I think here now we have a to Z. Project comes in, it goes here, it goes there, gets checked, goes out. I think that goes a long way to productivity, and it gives me more opportunity to check the drawings, spend more time making sure that they move through the process. I can track with the software I have, with Guru and the teams. It makes it a lot easier for me as a manager to know where the projects are, and they don't get backdoored or lost somewhere within the process. We can always track them, and we always have it. I think that's a big advantage to giving our clients better service.
Moving into the technology era, where for years we used yellow papers to track all of our jobs, and if that paper went missing, then that.
Well, it was 3 sheets. We did have a white piece of yellow.
But yeah, the technology side of it, it's really great, for sure.
How does being part of a larger company like CPA affect your impact
I
locally?
think we are able to provide better additional services, like I said, that McLaughlin weren't able to provide
For
before.
sure.
So, so I think that's one huge advantage where even with some other companies, local companies, we can offer more than they can. So I think that's a huge advantage of being part of a corporation where, instead of a family-owned business where you have those resources and they're constantly changing and adapting to whatever the market, the needs are. So I think that's important. Just touch base on your question previously. I think also for me, it was working and adjusting to the corporate world, like, and I can relate to them coming from I have my own business. I know, like I said, you can run it this way, but coming and being part of a corporation, it takes some adjusting, just because of all the procedures and protocols that you have to follow. But for me, as a project manager, utilizing the resources and the technology has made a world of difference. And that's part of what attracted me initially. Just that, having those resources available to you at all times. So because I can have something drafted overnight, that I have to wait for it for the next day, and and that helps to keep track of the projects, like Jerry was mentioning.
And I think what he's saying is we can turn around big jobs quicker, and that's CPA's mantra, that's
Right.
our way. We could never do that, we didn't have the resources.
Right.
Now, we can turn them around quicker.
Especially all the other offices, like everybody's using the same programming
Right.
system, and everyone's on the same page. So if we need additional crew help, we can pull them from
Yeah.
wherever, and we can execute the job quickly.
What kind of work does this office specialize in, and what makes your approach different to every other surveyor here?
Live in the Venice of America, and it's certainly a good foothold to have. We have a good rapport with the state and all the local government agencies. In fact, in some, they use our surveys as examples of this is the way you're supposed to do it. So I know from my standpoint, I think that's one of the things we do well.
And I think it's important that we offer a wide field. And I think that's why CPA wanted to acquire us. Why? Because we were a good fit, because we didn't have just one specialty. We tried to special and everything. We deal with municipalities, which is important, in a lot of scope surveys for Parks Department, school board, different municipalities. We have big clients, we have small clients, we do Alta surveys, we do bathymetric surveys, which a lot of firms don't. We were flying drones before, but not to the level that we're flying them now, and that makes a big difference. Everybody's flying them, but I think we're a step above with what we have in the training that the CPA has afforded us, so we can give a better product from whatever the client needs. I think that's important, that we can offer the whole gamut, anything that anybody needs. They don't have to go somewhere else.
Are there any past or recent projects that stand out to you either meaningfully or professionally?
Well, we did the soccer stadium right across from us, which was pretty cool. They had a real short time frame. That was when I was growing up, the Yankees played there. That was there. They tore it down and they built a new stadium for the soccer. And we had 1 year to get it done. So that was pretty cool that we've worked on it since then, but we got it done. And then COVID hit, so they couldn't open. We got it done in a year. We did everything we were supposed to do, and they couldn't open. On the beach, Bahia Mar is a huge project. It's developed over the years, and now they're going to redevelop it after all these years. It's a huge site. It's beautiful. We do the boat show there every year, and it gets bigger and bigger. It's one of the biggest economic engines in Broward County, and they relied on us over the last 50 years, and we're still doing it from them as CPA now. So that's a lot of exposure, and it's a really cool project if you ever see the boat show. Yeah. We get involved in that.
We did. We had to mark out the beach for this big tour. It's called Tortuga. It's a music festival on the beach. So we marked out. Was it like the turtle nesting
nest
areas? So that was really cool. Yeah.
I can't compete with those projects. But at least from the new, I'm looking forward to one of our projects, Watson Island.
Oh, yeah.
That's a project that's been in development for the last 2 decades. And because of different things, finally looks like it's gotten off the ground. And we were lucky enough to get from the ground up. So I'm looking forward to seeing the final project, because it's going to involve probably submerged land lease, more surveys, bathymetric work. They're going to develop the entire marina. They're going to do a promenade. So I am looking forward to seeing that project in its final phases. So for me, at least for now, that's one of the ones that I'm looking forward to.
And another project that was one of our first with CPA was the pier on the beach, Angler's Pier. It's like historic. Hurricane came through and blew a part of it out. So they hired us to come in. We flew it with the drone. We did the sounding. We did LiDAR. We did 3D modeling on the whole thing, and it was really cool. And we marketed it. It came out really well.
You know, I kind of stepping off of that, I'd like to know, it definitely feels something with CPA and the new resources doing these big projects and seeing the outcome. Is it similar, or how does it compare to the first big project you did with McLaughlin that's the most memorable to you?
It's a different feel. We do things different. The big projects that I remember, were done with an old-fashioned instrument. There was no such thing as computers, which makes me really old, but in any case, there's a whole different feel now. We have the ability to do things that we couldn't have dreamed of 30 years ago or 50 years ago. Things have changed so much that you can't compare the two. One that comes to mind is Margaritaville, down Hollywood Beach, that we started from the beginning, and we did the plat on it, and in order to name it Margaritaville, I actually had to call Jimmy Buffett
Cool.
and ask him if it was okay to use that particular term, and even let us put a little martini glass on the plat. So that sticks in my head, but again, that was when computers were just making the beginnings, so we didn't have the resources we do now, particularly with CPA.
That's awesome.
I think the biggest advantage is the support. That we were the support at McLaughlin. Now we have all these different facets helping us get projects done.
For sure.
It seems to go a little more seamless. So I think maybe that's the biggest difference. We got to survey the same way. I'm old like Jim. When we started surveying, we had a chain. There was no electric distance. There was no GPS. We chained. And we had old redneck party chiefs that if you made them mad, they would have you chain a mile just because you made them mad and chain back. These are 200-foot chains. So that technology has come a long, long way. We did have some of that, but I think it's the resources and the support team that's really made the difference with CPA.
But I also think it helps because we have a background in the way that it was done a long time ago, and we can kind of pass that along to the new folks that are coming around here, and that's probably, something that'll benefit them as we hopefully retire sometime.
What would you say is the biggest value this office brings to the South Florida surveying and development world?
Just as Bert and Jerry said earlier, we can do soup to nuts. If it has to do with surveying, we have if we don't have it here in this office, we know where to get it.
And you have the knowledge. Like, I don't think people can't buy the knowledge that they have.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
with
that CPA has with modern technology.
Right. So the two combined, it's like,
Powerhouse.
yeah.
Powerhouse. Yeah.
And we do SUE, we do UAV, we do 3D modeling, we scanning, we can do anything that anybody would need out of one office,
Right.
which we couldn't do before.
Right.
That's important for a client because, like I said, they don't have to go elsewhere for those services. They know that they can come through, to CPA, and we'll take care of all that. So that's important.
As you all look towards the future, what's something you're very excited about seeing this office grow into?
I like for Control Point to become the premier surveying firm in South Florida, if not Florida at all. I don't see why we're not able to do that. I know that eventually we'd like to open different branches in the state, Tampa, Jacksonville, just so we can, make sure everything, we have the whole area covered. But I think it's a little bit of a challenge and something that I look forward to, just competition, I guess, with the other firms. And now we're able to stand toe to toe. And I think the quality of the work and the integrity that we have and will set us aside. But I am looking forward to that because, like I said, we do have the resources, we do have the knowledge in-house. And I think that is something that I look forward to. So.
I second that.
Yeah, it's competition. That's our biggest block right now, getting the CPA name out. We only have from right there, those buildings, to the Everglades, we got a swath. There's a lot of surveyors in that swath. It's not like Northeast, you've got all that area. It's a tight-knit area. It's pretty established, so there's a lot of infill. So all that work, we're competing. So we have to stay on top with CPA.
Yeah.
I hope to see this as like the main hub and us just take over Florida and have all our little satellite offices throughout. I could see that.
Is there any advice any of you would like to give to someone young entering this industry and here in Florida?
Go ahead, Dad. Or Jim.
I would say you got to work hard and you got to get things done as quick as you can, but you always have to remember there's rules. And if you don't follow the rules, those other two things don't matter.
Yep.
And I think that surveying has changed, and I don't think for the better. Surveyors come out of college, they all want to fly drones. That's the difficult part, is knowing what a surveyor does, how we survey, not data collecting, and that's tough. it's tough, but I would tell them it's a great profession. I mean, it's a great living. You get out of it what you put into it, but you got to be motivated. You got to, like Jim said, you got to follow the rules. We have rules. The state sets the rules. We set our rules. You got to follow the rules.
You know, I've always thought of surveying as something, and I've had this discussion with some of you before, it's not something you really plan for, it's something you fall into. But with going off rules, I sometimes feel like it's not following the rules as much more as preparing and setting yourself to meet certain expectations, no matter what it takes. With the new technology, there's obviously a bunch of advantages to it, but then there's also some setbacks that make people feel, and especially younger generations, comfortable into not putting in as much elbow grease into the work that with something like surveying you have to at the end of the day. It's not just, you know, putting on a screen and reading some numbers. If you have to get out there, you have to get out there. And how would you advise someone that's younger, maybe isn't fully comprehending that? How would you let them know that this is the kind of work you need to do and how it's worth it?
That's tough. I would say you got to pay your dues, which younger people don't understand what that means, so they don't want to do it. But we all started on a survey crew. We learned how to survey.
Well, not me, but.
You were
But the guys. So we all started on a survey crew. We learned how to survey. I think that's important. If you're going to, especially if you want to move up in the ranks and become a registered surveyor, you got to pay your dues. You got to get out there. You got to see what it's all about. You got to sweat a little bit. Not all the time, but nowadays it's tough to get younger people to sweat.
Yeah.
They want to sit in front of that screen, and they don't understand that it's an art. It's not a science. You have issues that come up every day. You got to learn how to deal with those, how to manage them, what you got to do. It's not in a textbook anywhere. You know, it's a profession that's reputable. You know, second oldest profession in the world. So I think it's noble. It's just tough to get people motivated, I think, in any field, but putting them out, especially in South Florida in the sun, is difficult. They work for it. It's like, it's too hot out here.
I second that. I think they have to be able to work outdoors and learn the fundamentals. Like, I think it's important. Like Jerry was saying, I mean, if they don't know the fundamentals, they're just collecting data, and they don't understand what the data means, you know. So, and also I think it's cool for them to learn and understand that, hey, you're going to go to a cool site. I mean, we've all been in, these guys have been in mangroves. I've been in, you know, the same thing, up the water up to here, and we have all kinds of wildlife here, and you're exposed to all kinds of things. And that could be an exciting thing for someone who's starting.
Except mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes. And we have no seums here in Florida. But yeah, I mean, they need to understand why it is that they're collecting the data, not just to be on a screen and, you know, create a model of something. Why is it that you create a model? What's it for? What's the end result of this? There's a purpose of what you're doing. So,
and I agree, and I think that as much as you need experience in the field, if there's techs that are learning, you know, how to calculate, how to give the information to the people in the field, that they ought to, and I've been trying, and we've all been trying to pass that along, that there's also, you know, steps that can make your life easier in the office instead of just hurrying up and getting it done, to learn the rules, and then next time it'll come more natural.
I'll go back to something that we talked about earlier about what do we specialize in. We do expert testimony. I would say 99% of the surveyors in town don't do it because it takes a lot of experience, and all the fundamentals of surveying is very pressure ridden. You know, you're getting grilled all the time. You're before a judge, you're before a jury, you go to depositions, there's good attorney, there's bad attorneys. So that's pretty reputable that we can bring to CPA. I know Jim Weed does some of that, but there's nobody in town, I think, that does it as much as me and as much as Jim used to. I do a lot of it. So we're constantly doing that also, and I think that's something that we can rely on, is that most people don't offer, most firms don't offer.
And even if it doesn't go to court, there's a big group of attorneys here in town that I wouldn't say rely on us, but trust our judgment and will seek us out for that particular thing, perhaps so it doesn't go to court. And as Jerry said, we have a long-standing relationship with a lot of people in town, and that helps a lot when you're trying to express how you feel about any type of surveying, but particularly things that go to court.
Yeah, and I think that's what sets us apart. Control Point, Cloughlin Engineering, we are surveyors. We're not just collecting data.
Right.
And that's a huge, huge difference in between us and some of the other firms in town. We know how to survey, and we also know how to collect data. So, you know, it's important to understand that distinction between the two.
With kind of going back, talking about the younger generations and surveying, with a kid who's still trying to make up his mind with college per se, and they are interested in the AEC industry now. Bert, we've talked about this before, you know, it's kind of hard because when you think of the AEC industry, you think of those three automatically. Architecture, engineering, and construction. The flashiest ones, the ones who get invited to the ribbon cutting ceremonies, whose names are on the plaque by the front door, and surveyors don't really get that recognition. But how would you describe the rewarding feeling of a surveyor and our projects when we are the underdogs in the industry and everything that has to do with construction? But I would argue to say one and if not the most valuable step before any type of development can even begin. So how would you describe the rewarding feeling of seeing a project come to life after you've worked on it compared to how maybe an engineer and architect that visibly gets to see it? How would you describe your feelings of it?
Well, all of the above, you know, they rely on us. If it wasn't for us, they couldn't have their projects. I've been down the Intercoastal on a boat, and I can take people with me and say, we did that project, we did that project, we did that project, we did that project. You couldn't go 100 feet that we haven't worked on a project. So that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
And
I've never felt like that. No, I mean, I've never felt like an underdog.
I feel like it's just surveying just is underrated. Like I don't think
underrated.
people actually realize how
Yeah.
important it is.
When I say underdog, it's, you know, when people look at a brand new building, the first thing that doesn't pop to their mind is like, oh, this is all thanks to the surveyors.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And underdog can be a good thing too because you're the underestimated, and sometimes that's a good thing. You know what I mean? You get to prove and show your worth with actual evidence.
Well, and we're there through the whole project.
Right.
You figure an architect is in mostly just in the beginning, and then we are in the beginning, the middle, and then we do the final survey when it's all completed. So we get to see everything.
Yeah.
it's reputation.
Reputation,
Is everything. If you're a good surveyor, you got a good reputation. CPA did, McLaughlin did. It goes a long way. For young people also. They seek us out. We've had interns, and they get it. They just want my job. That's the problem. They don't want to start at the bottom. Yeah, they want to move right in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they don't want to put
In
the
the
time
AC.
in. They just want to drift in when they want to, leave when they want to. It's that work ethic that. But I'm going to university. I'm going to the Surveyors Convention. University of Florida's been there. We have a good rapport with them. We've talked. We're trying to get more interns involved, more people involved within the profession, and let them know it's a great job if you put your heart and soul into it. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what it takes.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I can relate to what Jerry's talking about. I mean, you go and you drive, and like I said, for me, at least in Miami, when I would drive downtown, I can say, hey, I work on that project, this project, South Beach, the same thing. And it's rewarding in that way because quietly you know that you were a crucial part of that project.
Yeah.
The building is there because you had some input into it and you helped develop it. It's funny, you know, architects can dream and design these cool buildings, and engineers come in and make sure that it doesn't fall down. Well, guess what? Surveyors are the ones who determine whether or not he can put the building on that site.
That's true.
If it
In the right location.
because in the right location, you know, oh yeah, it's encroaching into the property line. So what? Well, no, you can't really do that. You know, so I always had that in the back of my mind. You know what? It could be architectural, it could be, you know, this prestigious title or an engineer. But we're the ones who really determine whether or not they can put it in there.
I don't think they treat us like second-class citizens.
No.
Maybe we're perceived that way within the community, but they don't. They rely on us.
They rely on
I
us.
would- Yeah, I would say that.
that's
With people that don't
matters.
understand the construction
Right.
world, I feel like they don't understand the importance of surveying. But people that are in construction, engineering, architecture, they know they need a surveyor.
And Jessica's working
So-
on the other part.
Which part? Trying to get everybody else to
The other
understand?
people, the general public.
We're important.
Yeah, but I think
You need us.
But I think to
We
your,
matter.
I think to your point about how do you get the young generation to understand that, I think it's that. I think it's understanding why it is that you're doing what you're doing, you know, and it does have you're contributing to it. You may not know, but you are. And, you know, so it's rewarding in that end to see a project in its completion and you say, damn, you know what, look at that building, it's going to be there for a while. So,
Right. Last and final question, Jerry, will you let me open up a TikTok and just boot videos of you dancing on them?
What?
I don't think he even knows what TikTok
Have
is.
you ever seen me dance before? Only if I go in the comedy section.
that's funny.
I was gonna put it in the arts. Just kidding. Well, that has been all. You guys have all been lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank
you
you.
for being here with me today. Thank you for joining us here in Fort Lauderdale and getting to know the heart behind our Florida team. Whether it's legacy, local knowledge, or next-gen surveying, this crew does it all. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next step of our CPA journey.